Hello and welcome to the scorecard method of adding and subtracting rational numbers. The first thing on this method that we're going to do is set up a scorecard for each problem. So we're going to go ahead and just make a t-chart, and we're going to say one side is positive and one side is negative. Because of that, we're going to look at our numbers as two different teams that are playing. We have a positive team and we have a negative team that are playing. The second thing that it says is find out if the number is positive or negative. So once we have that, we're going to place the number without the sign in the correct section of the scorecard. So if it's positive, we're going to put it on the positive side. And then we're going to add up each column. And then number 5 says, okay, which team wins, the positive team or the negative team? And then by how much do they win? And so we're going to subtract the winning team's score minus the losing team's score. We're going to answer the problem with the sign of the winning team and by how much they win by. And then I've got a couple of hints written down as well. Don't forget your plus plus smiley. So if we have a -5 minus a -3, we're going to go ahead and make those plus plus smileys. So that's going to become positive, positive with a little happy face underneath it. And then both of those, this one is going to be positive, and this one we have now made positive. So they would be on the positive team. A negative sign and a subtraction sign are going to mean exactly the same thing. And if there is a positive sign and a negative sign right next to each other in either order, then the positive one is going to lose and the negative one is going to win. So that one is going to become a minus, or this one is going to become a minus. Okay, so let's go ahead and try some. Okay, on our first problem here, we're going to set up our scorecard method. So we have a positive side and a negative side. Then we're going to go through and we're going to find out which one is which. So this 9 has a negative, so it is scoring 9 points for the negative team. And you notice I don't put the negative down, I just put the 9 because that's how many points it is. Then the 17 is positive, so we are scoring 17 points for the positive team. Now our next question is which team won. So the 17 is bigger, so they won. So my positive team won. And then we want to say, okay, by how much? I'm going to subtract out the other one. So 17 minus 9 is going to be 8. So my answer is a positive 8 because the positive team won by 8 points. Okay, let's look at another one. Here, I'm going to go ahead and set up my scorecard method, positive and negative. Now, as I'm looking at this one, I'm noticing right here I have an 18 that is negative. So we have 18 points for the negative team. And once again, I don't put down the negative. I just put down that we have 18 points. Then as I'm looking at my next one, it is a negative, negative, and that we remember is a plus plus smiley. So now I know that this is a positive 28. Okay, so now that I have that, then I'm going to say, okay, which team won? The positive team has more points, so they win. By how much? So then I'm going to take my positive team, which is the winner, minus my losing team, and I have 10 points. So my answer is going to be a positive 10, and I don't have to put the plus sign out in front. Okay, looking at my next one, scorecard method goes up first. Then I'm going to say, okay, which team scored which points? So this one scored a negative 25, so the negative team scored 25 points. And then if you look up at your hints, it says that a subtraction sign and a negative sign mean exactly the same thing. So I'm just going to go ahead and circle this one. This one, the negative team won 13 more points. So then I'm going to look and I'm going to say, okay, my positive team won no points, and my negative team, I'm going to add those together. I have 38 points for the negative team. So which team won? Well, my negative team obviously won by 38 points. So my answer is going to be negative 38. Okay, let's go ahead and look at our next one. Okay, my first step is to go ahead and put in my scorecard. Then my next step is to go through and find out, okay, which team is scoring how many points. So the 14 has no sign on it, so we know it's positive. So 14 points for my positive team, and then my negative team scored 37 points. So then I say, okay, which team scored most of our points? And that's the negative team. By how much did they win by? So I'm going to subtract out what the positive team scored from what the negative team scored. And I'm going to have 23 that my negative team won by. So they won by 23 points. So that's my answer. My next one, set up your scorecard first thing. The 18 is positive. My 17 or my 7 is a little bit more tricky. We have a negative negative, and when that happens, we remember it is plus plus smiley. So that is really a positive 7. So 7 points for the positive team. So then I go ahead and add those together. I have 25 on the positive, 0 on the negative. So my positive team won by 25 points. The next one, positive and negative scorecard. The 19 is positive, so we're going to go ahead and put that down on the positive team. They won. My negative minus a negative, remember that's plus plus smiley. So that 5 is really a positive 5. So I'm going to add that in. So I'm going to add up the points to know how much for each team. I have 24 on this side and I have 0 on this side. So then my next question is which team won? Well, the positive team won by 24 points. So that's my answer. Okay, looking at my bottom one, I've thrown in a couple of decimal points just to make sure that you're aware of how to line them up and everything. So this is my positive team winning 1.5 points, and my negative team won 17.2 points. So we want to know which team won. Well, the negative team scored more points, so they won. So I'm going to subtract out what the other team scored. I'm going to borrow here. So I have 7, 5. So they won by 15.7 points, and it was the negative team that won. So my answer is negative 15.7. Looking at my next one, the 39.8 is negative. So once again, I put that in without the sign. The 21.3, this is a minus sign, but if you look up at the hints, the minus and the negative are exactly the same. So that is going to be 21.3 for the negative team. So my positive team scored nothing. My negative team scored 61.1 points, and they're negative. So my answer is negative 61.1 points. And my last one, I'm running a little bit out of space, so I'm going to erase this one. Positive and negative scorecard. This is a negative, so we're going to go ahead and put it on the negative score. So my negative team scored 21.82 points. And here, this minus sign means the same thing as a negative. So I'm going to go ahead and add that in. Make sure your 9 goes under your 8, because that's where it is 1 point after the decimal. So then we're just going to add up. Remember, there's a 0 there. So then we're going to add 2, 17, 9, 3. So my negative team wins by 39.72 points. Okay, that's it. Make sure you're asking if you have any questions so that you can be ready to test. Thank you. Have a good night.